Hello everyone, welcome to Fableheim and the first Dev Diary Dev Stream Breakdown for Age of Wonders 4 Secrets of the Archmages. Yes, it is that time again. A new DLC is on the horizon, arriving June 16th. And so, every Thursday I'll be breaking down, well it's Friday right now, sorry I got a little delayed, but every Thursday I'll be breaking down the Dev Diary of the day and the highlights, the new things spotted in the dev stream. Of course, in the description down below, you can find a link to this dev diary and the dev stream if you'd like to watch it for yourself. It's always a good time. And for the first dev diary of Secrets of the Archmages, we're talking about what is a story pack. Welcome, fellow Gordia, for the time has come to delve into the secrets of the Archmages. I am Jacob from Triumph's narrative department, but you may call me Aamok. That's what I'm going with. The upcoming DLC of Age of Wonders 4, to be released on the 16th of June, is the first story pack, which meant a break from our regular routine of doing DLC with a new flagship ruler type or culture. Today I will be talking about what this meant for our concepting of the DLC and the grand stroke paths we decided to stride. Personally, I was a little worried about what a story pack meant, but I'm quite reassured. Quite indeed. And it's only partially because there are 6 new tomes. New Horizons. So what even is a story pack? For the narrative team, the idea of a story pack represented first of all new opportunities, new visions to explore, more daring designs to consider. Normally, the big feature editions of a DLC define the framework of the narratives we craft. The gameplay leads and the stories must follow. But with Secrets of the Archmages, the situation had been reversed. We could first develop our stories and then sketch out the content required to support those stories based on our narrative. Of course, in realistic terms, it wasn't quite that simple, but still the promise of creative freedom was tantalizing. A little bit of art here. Time for the disciples of the Ansi Quill to escape from their cage of binding. Of Wizards and Secrets. When exploring the direction for the DLC, one vision emerged early on, and eventually became engraved even on the DLC name. We wanted to close in on the stories of the wizards from the old games and their secrets. The original idea was to follow the banished wizards of Althla on their journeys throughout the Astral Sea between Age of Wonders Shadow Magic and at the end of Age of Wonders 3, when the seals locking Althla from the Astral Sea were broken. But when we realized this would clash with existing faction options of the present Age of Wonders, we ended up altering this approach in favor of storylines that would chronologically follow our previous narratives. Still, this idea persisted in a different form, as will be seen later. When planning out narrative content for Age of Wonders 4, we faced the constant dilemma that there is a division in the community in terms of their preferences. While one part of the players desires to experience emergent narratives supporting their role-playing sandbox games, the other part is more interested in following a carefully crafted story, continuing longer narrative arcs more akin to a traditional campaign. Naturally, some enjoy both or don't care for either. In our first story pack, we wanted to offer something compelling to both types of players, so we ended up with the 2 content types to pursue. Story Realms, well, you know what they are, and then Shrouded Isles. Now this is the super secret part. Sorry, had to swear an unbreakable oath, sign my soul over to a demon overlord, and, worst of all, it's where I'm hiding my Tyrael right now. So no pointers whatsoever on how to find them. All I can say is you really don't want to see what's behind the gate to Nimue's Isle. The scary door, enter at your own risk. And your little owl. With the Shrouded Isles better left behind the scary door for now, the rest of this dev diary will focus on the story realms. We haven't seen one of these scary doors yet in the dev stream either. The golden rule of 3. Anyone who has been engaged with game or UX design for some time knows that 3 is a magic number that keeps popping up in all kinds of designs. 3 event choices, 3 archetypes to choose from, 3 steps to complete in a quest chain, 3 magic materials in a set, 3 levels of good and evil alignment. The list could go on forever. With that already said, it is no big surprise that we ended up rooting for 3 new story realms to make for Secrets of the Archmages. Our high-level narrative goal of the DLC was to keep broadening our game world, that the conflict between Urath and Archons that had defined most of the main narrative up until Archon Prophecy shift out of focus for the time being, and instead look at other factions and worlds that could play bigger roles in our future narratives. To make our story realms the most diverse and help us reduce dependencies and risk in the tight business of DLC making, we decided to not tell a linear story, but rather episodic stories with a common narrative backdrop. As a consequence, all 3 story realms will be available directly and can be played in any order. Evermore, the Azuran Pit, and the Burrow Downs. They're reversed on the list in the dev stream, but that's okay. Leave this little placeholder art. Early portal art let us choose our starter Pokemon. Yes, I'm shamelessly stealing your joke, Bass. Oh, that makes sense, yeah. The common narrative backdrop tying all 3 stories together is that of the Circles of Deogai. Those are the councils of Gaudir founded by the Archons throughout the worlds within as a response to the fracturing and the experiments of the Unmakers. Originally intended to foster stability and peace, each of those circles went through its own long history. Some perished, while others persisted and transformed throughout the ages. Fighting our main cast. Staying true to our earlier idea about Athla's wizards, we determined that each story realm would have a main wizard from the old games to follow. Now, Age of Wonders 4, with all its DLC, has accumulated an impressive official library of 100 distinct Gaudir characters. Is it really at 100? By now, covering most of the original, still alive, wizards. Still, there are some characters missing, so those become a natural point of interest in our investigations. This would be Yaka. Is this Carissa? I don't know the old portraits, I'm sorry. From Age of Wonders 2 / Shadow Magic, yeah. Didn't play that one. The criteria in our search were simple. We wanted to pick a cast of characters with interesting backgrounds and appeal that would fit in well for 3 very different narratives and themes. In the end, the following 3 pairings of characters and story pitches emerged that would later form the foundation of the story realm designs. Merlin, seeking cosmic secrets and redemption. I believe Merlin was the character player, wasn't he? Like in the first game? Oh dear. With the DLC name Secrets of the Archmages, we couldn't give our series' most defining Archmage a pass. Yeah, he seems to have a bit of an issue going on here. After the, for him, rough 3rd and even rougher 4th Ages of Wonder, Merlin deserved to get a more merciful narrative arc going. Though it's a long-winded stairway to climb out of that umbral pit of his, the player gets to accompany Merlin on his return to Evermore, where they comb through the secrets left behind by the wizard kings of the crumbled Circle of Deogai. Together, they must expose and fight the sinister powers sleeping in Evermore's shadows. So, I have played up to, or through, the main story and then the Empires and Ashes story. I know Merlin is evolved in the Eldritch Realms and the Archon Prophecies, but I don't know how. I'm assuming this is because of that. Carissa going on a killing spree on Abadoth. Oh, her favorite thing. Nice hair. I am very excited for some mods to rip some of these customization options. That'll be a good time. Nice. Ever since her humiliating experience on the Crimson Caldera, a rising fury has been seething inside Carissa. So it is no coincidence that she returns to the infernal world of Abadoth to let it all go in a hotter, fiery way. On the Azuran Pit, the player encounters the target of Carissa's unleashed fury, an ancient circle of Deogai, teetering upon collapse. Will they protect the circle, prolonging its unholy duty, or will they join Carissa and burn it to the ground? Great question. And then Hambinger abducted by the Fae and brought to Duatha. Nice. There's an unmodeled bird on his head. Oh, wait, could we get this? This is such, Radagast the Brown. Oh yeah. Our game world's most cherished adventurer and storyteller, with permission of the lovely Elia, is renowned for getting into the biggest possible trouble and somehow surviving it. Will his legendary luck be enough to save him from the vile judgment of the Duatha Day? Not this time, no. But this time, Ham's fate depends upon the player, who must venture to the Burrow Downs of the Fey world Duatha. Following the Fey guide Dawnusk, they must learn to navigate and understand a realm of constant change and trickery, or Hambinger will be lost. Now this is the moment for the quick-witted Gaudir to pause reading and complain, hey, none of these 3 is actually new to Age of Wonders 4. Weren't we just promised some still missing characters? Well, rest assured, no need to cast Fulmination yet. There is more time to explore. more to explore in these story realms, some secrets must be kept. In the dev stream, we met one of them. Or, the devs met one of them. Conclusion. And thus, in an epic struggle, the clumsy hero Aomok barely dodges most spoiler bullets, leaving the rostrum for his brave colleagues to climb another day. For in the next week, as has been foretold in the prophecy of Geordie, there shall be revelations about the tomes and secrets of the Archmages. Thank you all for sticking along in this introduction to the first story pack of Age of Wonders 4, to be released on the 16th of June. So is Geordie writing the tomes? The tomes dev diary? We do see some of the tomes in the dev stream. Yeah. So all things considered, I guess this makes sense for our first DLC. Normally this kind of stuff is left for later, but they are the key. These are the main things. Like I said, I'm super excited for some of this customization to unlock. Carissa remains as hot as ever. Ba-da-bop. I have a few ideas for this outfit if we can get it. But that is the dev diary. You can find it in the description down below if you would like to read it, peruse it for yourself. It wasn't particularly long this time. Now it is time for the dev stream. The dev stream did have some spoilers. So if you are not interested, I will warn you when the spoilers begin. We're going to start off, of course, looking at the overviews here, selecting our world we play, or the devs play in Burrowed Downs, which is the easiest, apparently, of these three story realms. And we'll spend a lot of time in character creation because, of course, the Reavers got reworked. And then we'll head into the realm itself. I believe it's this button. So they hovered over Evermore, which has a little blurb about you become Merlin's new apprentice and help him out. Doing stuff, blah, 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 blah. They have the Devastated Pangea, Crystalline Abundance, Death-Casting, Unbound Tome, Shrouded Isles, and Small Underground. All the story realms have these Shrouded Isles here. And there is a challenge realm down here that also has it. As mentioned, we'll be going into the Burrowed Downs. We'll talk about this in a second. The Veiled Lands is a challenge realm. I believe this is unlocked in the Pantheon. Maybe? Maybe not. Which doesn't seem very difficult. Could be fun. The Ashen Pits, I screenshot this a little later, but basically you're going in with the classic struggle between order and chaos. But as I mentioned, we're going to the Burrowed Downs. This is the realm of the Fae. It is a burrowed realm, which Mr. Bird believes this is unique to the story realm, this realm trait. So mountain provinces are rare. I wish we could use that. Hills are common. Free cities only exist in the underground. All free cities and marauders have animalistic forms. The warped seasons is a new realm trait we can use. This will shift every 10 turns. It will shift the seasons of the world, which brings vulnerability to blight, fire, lightning, or frost, depending on the season. And it will begin randomly terraforming things, which some of these terraforms are really scary, like the volcanic terrain that you can't heal on. Ugh. Sounds terrifying. The Mistwalker Incursion is also a new realm trait you can add in your own plagues. The Mistwalkers have invaded this realm, setting up a permanent military presence. The infestations are common. The Mistwalker camps, which are new. And then Shrouded Isles. This is also a new realm trait that adds a new layer. We have talked about layers in the anniversary stream, and there are some limitations with this. As you can see, it is mutually exclusive with the Umbral Abyss, because there is a coded limit of 3 layers max. So the world, the underground, and then an additional one on top, whether it's the Umbral Abyss or this new Shrouded Isle. We haven't seen anything regarding the Shrouded Isles, except for one little totem thing that apparently is a new... Oh, we'll get to it. Anyway, big fancy mysteries. Spooky. There are 2 new Secrets of the Archmages custom Gaudir, this Albada Firepeak and Palace Howling. We will see more about Alfada in a minute. Albada. But the Owlkin is a new form introduced in Secrets of the Archmages. They come, or introduce a new starting trait, the Watchful, which basically means this unit cannot be flanked unless it is distracted, and increases zone of control size to all adjacent hexes. Tom explained that technically, mechanically, the way this functions is it just adds zone of control all around you, which means you can't be flanked, because flanking is attacking outside of zone of control, which is why if you become distracted, you can then be flanked. So, I'm not sure how to parse how powerful this is. It's probably better against some builds than others. There is now the Weaver Spider Mount. This is a new type of spoder that exists in several forms. But of course, here is the mount. Getting +5 hit points, adding the web ability, and granting swift. Of course, all units become cavalry units. That is added for Secrets of the Archmage. Baseline, they have added the Bone Wyvern, Fire Wyvern, and Frost Wyvern mounts. And for Dragon's Dawn, they've added the Gold Wyvern and the Obsidian Wyvern. These cost 4 points because not only are they flying mounts, which cost 3 usually, but they give you additional elemental protection, depending on what it is. Like the Bone Wyvern gives blight protection. I believe I have most of these. Wait, did I miss something? Well, we'll get to it. There is one more mount that was added. Fire gives fire, Obsidian gives spirit, and the Inferno Hound mounts have been added. These give 5 hit points, 4 fire protection, and it grants the Pack Hunter passive to your cavalry units, which is actually quite good. I'm not sure if you can double dip on this, but this is basically when a unit is surrounded, you deal bonus damage to it. It's also a societal trait. But here is the moment we have all been waiting for. The Reavers have been reworked. It's very similar to the Dark Culture as I predicted, where they split it into 2 subcultures. One of them is largely unchanged. The Imperial Reavers are the same as the current version of the Reavers, except war spoils have been changed a little bit. They can now be used to empower your cities. They never really explain what that means, but maybe it means rushing buildings using war spoils instead of gold, possibly. That's how I'm interpreting anyway. They still have the focused aggression. They gained war spells from fighting, raiding, and conquering free cities and empires, which I believe is unchanged. They don't have total war anymore because it's irrelevant. Or, well, not super relevant. And they gained their Whispering Stone back. This also doesn't mention a bonus siege project. I'm not sure if they took that away or not. But otherwise, I think there were some slight buffs to the units, Thomas said. But for the rest of it, it's pretty much unchanged. And then we get to the... Yeah, here's Focus Aggression. Unchanged. The Federate Reavers. This is a more friendly... The friendly version of the Reavers. This will generate favor from defeating marauders, destroying infestations, and maintaining supreme vassalage with free cities. So, Tom said that was an income of favor. Which I don't believe there's a way to get an income of war spoils. That's pretty cool. You can use favors to improve allegiance of your vassals, rush war coordinations, trade with free cities, and recruit from the Rally of Lieges. You also begin with 5 recruitment points and some of cultural units available within the Rally of Lieges, and they will always be available. The reason for that is because any unit recruited from the Rally of Lieges gains the Federate Levy tag, and your cultural units gain the Federate Soldier tag. These work in tandem. Did we not hover over it? No. We will see this later, but basically, if you have a Federate soldier, each Federate levy in that stack will grant that Federate soldier plus 10 health and plus 2 experience per turn, and vice versa. And then in combat, the Federate levies apply a debuff that the Federate soldiers gain bonus from. Again, we'll see this more later, but I thought I hovered it here. Total War, as mentioned, was taken away from the Reavers. It was added to the new Empire tree somewhere, and it was added to 2 of the society traits. The first one is Scions of Evil. Total War is you can declare without war justification. You have no Imperium penalties. Generally, you need at least minor justification to declare without penalty. And it was also added to Chosen Destroyer, which Thomas didn't have on this build. And here is the first of the new tomes, the Tome of Abjuration. This is similar to the Tome of Warding, but very different and much golder. We did go over all of this, but we don't cover the other ones really. The available spells in Tome of Abjuration is the Curse Reversal. The target friendly unit has its negative status effects removed, and if the removed status effect has a positive counter, the unit gains a stack of it. So if you remove weakness, they will gain strengthened. Decent spell. The City Wards is a sustained city spell. The target owned city or non-hostile free city gains plus 10 city stability, plus 10 fortification if not under siege, and if targeting a free city gains plus 2 allegiance per turn. Well, it's actually crazy, isn't it? So you can't use this on a city that is currently sieged to lengthen the siege time. You have to foresee the attack ahead of time. The Conjurer Abjurer Pylon is a pylon you can summon in battle, and it has the magic shield thing. I hope I got a picture of this. It's very strong, although it is single target, so. Mage Armor is an enchantment for battle mage, support units, and magic fighter units, granting them +2 defense, so a little more defended against single attacks. The Abjurer Glyphs grant skirmisher and range units battle shields, which gives them precognition when its total hit points reaches 60% and 30%. That's totally not going to be annoying. And then Abjure Violence is used on your enemy, and it looks like it gives them a chance to be pacified so they can't, attack you. And then chance increases based on target's lost hit points? Or decreases? Decreases. So, if you've been hitting someone, they're less likely to not want to hit you. That makes sense. I did not hover it. I think... Oh, was it 2 strengthen, 2 regeneration, and something else? The pylon's pretty good. The Tome of the Sprite is another tier 1 tome that you can begin with if you want. An order... Not order. The last one was order. Astral Nature Tome. We did not go over any of this, but the Summon Sprite is something we will see in a moment. And what the devs chose is the Tome of Gluttony, which is a pure Chaos Tome that is all about growing stronger by feasting on the life essence of your enemies. There's also a new mechanic that you can see here. The little lock symbol means that this skill is unlocked at game start. All of the new tomes have it. For Tome of the Sprite, it's Captivating Light, and for the Tome of Abjuration, it is the Pylon. I don't know, they never mentioned if this also means if you select the tome later, you'll automatically unlock it. I'm assuming it does, but I don't know. Maybe it's just a bonus for starting with it. The Illusory Illusory Leaf Fistum. The Illusory Feast, the target enemy unit becomes distracted for 1 turn, guaranteed, and they also have a 90% chance of becoming stunned for 1 turn. So you can punch them real good. The Infernal Jaws is a combat spell. The target enemy will sustain 15 physical damage and 15 fire damage, and if the enemy dies, adjacent friendly units heal for 20 temporary hit points, and if they have Demonic Hunger or Imp's Hunger, they will gain Gorged, which is very important. We'll get to that in a second. The Summon Gluttonous Imp skill is a summoning spell. It's not a combat summon, a regular summoning spell. It summons the new Gluttonous Imp, which is a magic fighting fiend. So it has the magical strikes, and then it has Regurgitate, which the target enemy unit sustains damage and burns. Ah, it's a ranged ability, okay. I was like, why is it special? Ranged. And then Demonic Hunger. This is what the Tome of Gluttony is all built around. The target race is charged with infernal forces of gluttony. Gaining, when killing a non-combat summon enemy unit, they gain a permanent stack of Gorged, which gets them +2 hit points. This stacks up to 5 times, granting +10 hit points, and carries over between combats. The reason why that's important is because at 5 stacks of Gorged, it will turn into Demonic Satiation, giving +5 hit points and a 5% damage multiplier, stacking up to 10 times. So you get to +10 hit points from Gorged, it will turn into +5 hit points and deals 5% damage, stacking up to 10 times. So if you can kill 50 enemy units, non-combat summons, you will gain +50 hit points and +50% bonus damage. Those numbers are very impressive, but Tom actually went around asking how people were feeling about it, and it doesn't seem overpowered, because killing 50 units with a single unit is a lot. Remember, we do have the Baylor guy. Well, I don't know if we still do with the new tree, but there's a sacrifice at the end of the Chaos Tree that gives you a Baylor that does this, basically. And he was never considered OP. And then, of course, once you have 10 stacks of Demonic Satiation, you're done. No more scaling. Also, when pillaging a province, this unit will heal for 25% of their max health. I think this is going to be strong. I don't think it'll be overpowered, and I think it may get to a point where you're really hyper-focused on it, and then you just lose interest, with every passing combat. Where it's whatever, just kill him. I think. There's also Corrupt Pact, which is a world spell, which targets free cities. It does something in relation to other rulers by 200 to reduce something? TS. It does say other rulers, so I don't know if this will affect your relation with the free city. And then converts something of its food income to your cities. I I think they implied that this would reduce the free city's food. So you would reduce their growth to improve your growth? And then the special province movement is the Hungering Maw. 10% of food income is converted into mana, and whenever victorious in battle, the city gains 50 food. I thought this was ridiculous. 50 food isn't a lot, but when victorious in battle, do you have any idea how much you fight? And say you build this in every one of your cities, each one is 50, you just fight and grow and fight and grow and fight and grow. And you can stack that with, is it ritual catapults? It just seems crazy. I don't know, we'll find out. But here is the Owlkin, although right now I'm looking more at the Grimoire of Fire. This is a new spellcasting item added to the game. It is basically a copy-paste of the Eldritch Sovereign's orb, their special item. But it looks really cool. I quite like the way it looks. That was a spear one. They look a little bit different based on what element they are. This is the Grimoire of Spirit. This is the Grimoire of Fire. And then, of course, we got into customization options. We were here for a little bit, taking a look at all the owls. Hoot hoot. They have some special skin options, which do look really cool, and we'll see some of them in a moment. They added new outfits to the Wizard King, including... well, this from the Pirate Templar. But this is Simon's outfit, who's one of the secret god ear we were just talking about. Not so much a secret after all, Tom, thank you. And then this is that one. We have a little bit of a fire heart going on. Some extreme teal. Or sparkly. I like this one. This is very similar to the vampire skin. So, not that new, but it's okay. Reduce, reuse, recycle. We have some beards for the owl. Thomas liked this because it makes him look all fluffy. It's so fluffy! We have some eyebrows here, which you can... I believe he didn't have any eyebrows, so his face looks sleek. And then there are some new eyeballs. I think these are universal. They didn't say if this is Owlkin only, but we have some starry eyes. We have some flaming eyes, and these do move. Of course, you're looking at a JPEG, but... they do move in-game. And then there's this very crystal clear one. Got some hairstyles. Nothing fancy. Some new helmets were added as well, including this, which I think is new. We haven't seen that one before. Oh yeah, you can just look at this. Look at the SA tag. SOA tag. There we go. This is from the Rise from Ruin. Nice little hat there. Got some new cloaks as well. I believe there is one from the Secrets of the Archmage as well, but maybe not. Oh, it might be at the top. I thought I had a picture of it. Whatever, it's fine. Here are our little Federate Reavers. We'll get into them, of course, as we get into the campaign. But you may notice that they are reasonably less spiky. They don't have spikes everywhere. This is a new Tier 3 unit. This is a new Tier 1 unit. And this is a new Tier 2 support. New in quotation marks. If we're looking at truly new, this is the only new one, the Breacher. Which again, we'll see in a minute. More head! Got some nice varying depictions here of owls. We have our crest here, which is more than just a crest, but we'll take it, we'll take it. Okay. From this point on, we're going to be looking at story stuff. I won't go super deep into it. If you want to pause and read it and take a look at the story, you can. But I did take screenshots of all of the different story pop-ups, and why not? So, if you don't want to be spoiled, thanks for watching. But as we go into this, there's more than just the story. We take a look at the new Empire tree, the Reaver stuff. So, just be forewarned. This is a little starting blurb. This art is fantastic and, of course, inspired by Lord of the Rings. This little hobbitses hiding from the giant scourge. This little guy is the sprite from the Tome of the Sprite, and who guides you to your realm down the rabbit hole. This is Donusk. Mr. Bird had a very, very amusing interpretation of what he sounded like. So the Reavers, of course, have the Mage Lock. The Federate Reavers retain this very iconic character, which is great because they have the best sound effect in the game. And I believe what we're looking at right now is this little mark on the unit card. This resembles a Federate soldier. These are your cultural units or units that will later get the cultural buff through the one spell. The Federate soldier has bonus damage and accuracy against units with engaged by levies. So if they have to be engaged, I think, however, we'll find out. Support abilities from a Federate soldier will heal a Federate levy for 20% more temporary hit points. And for each unit in the army with a Federate levy, the Federate soldier will gain +1 hit points and +2 experience per turn. So, engaged by levies. Attacks from units with Federate soldier gain +20% accuracy and +20% damage. And then the Federate levy attacks inflict... Okay, so it's just attacks. Engaged by levies. They don't have to be actually engaged. Support abilities will heal Federate soldiers more. And then for each unit in army with a Federate soldier, the Federate levy will gain 10 hit points and +2 experience per turn. It's a lot of talking, but basically you just want to mix them together, mix and match them to wombo combo your way to victory. That's the TLDR. The Warped Seasons of Spring is active at the start of the story realm, which inflicts everybody with -2 blight protection. And this is the attack from the Grimoire. The Fire Spike is 8 range, 110% accuracy, full action, deals 16 fire. The damage is not impressive at all. However, they were asking their playtesters if they wanted, should we increase this or not? And almost all of them responded no. Just because 8 range is insane. This will keep your spellcaster very, very, very safe. And they're talking about how Tom likes to use this for ritualists and warlocks more so than the elementalist, because the other two like to stay really far back. And then there's the Fire Rebuke, which is a melee attack if somebody does tie this thing up, or pretty much that's when you want to use it exclusively. The Mercenaries are unchanged for the Federate Reavers, except it deals split physical and spirit damage. It is spirit, physical, and fire. Here is the Mage Lock. I believe this damage number is slightly higher than it is in the live version of the game. But besides that, completely the same. Here is the Pistolier. Very similar to the Harrier, except it has the Fire Magelock. It has a Magelock pistol, which is doing Magelock pistol things. And they also have a Versatile Skirmisher. So when their melee attacks will increase their next range attack, and then their missile attack will increase their next physical attack, or melee attack. The hero has this. Any ranger hero has or can get. This is the Sapper. No Dominion here for the Federate Reavers, who like to cooperate more so than conquer. Their attack is spirit damage and inflicts sundered defense. And they have the Patch-Up Heal, which I think Thomas wasn't sure if he buffed this. It's always been a very high number, so I feel like it's unbuffed, but it could have been, who knows. They have the Demolition Blast instead of Dominate. This is very funny. Basically, you target a destructible obstacle, so like a flower, a tree, a bush. That target and adjacent obstacles will suffer 30 physical damage. I'm pretty sure that just kills it. But adjacent units, what you usually use this for, adjacent units will suffer 10 physical damage and have a 90% chance of inflicting sundered defense. This is kind of like a battle mage thing, but they can basically blow up cover and it will deal some damage and potentially debuff people that are hiding in it. The Breacher. This is the new Tier 3 unit for the Federate Reavers. I don't know why I just blanked there for a second. So instead of the Dragoon, you have a Magic Fighter, which has, of course, magic strikes. This is great for a culture that typically is like all physical damage. Very good. And the Breaching Shot. This is a new weapon, actually. It is a 1 AP attack, 20 spirit damage. It deals damage to all units in a 2-hex cone. Sunder defense, and Sunder does resistance at 90% chance, and then Breaching ignores 50% of the target's resistance. They are a melee mage, so they can use this fancy new gun in melee, and they also have Reinforce, so they take less damage from missile attacks. An interesting unit. We'll see how we feel about it. I think it's a good unit, but I also am not sure. It performed really well because, again, it's his only source really of magic damage besides this little fella, who is a Morning Sprite. I believe they explained that the summon sprite from the Tome of Sprites, saying sprite a lot, you can select a support character, the Morning Sprite, or a Battle Mage character, the Evening Sprite. And Donnusk, the special character here, has the Donnusk tag. He will switch between them based on the events of the story. So, Morning Sprite, again, support character, Blight Fire Damage, interesting combo. Burning Poisoned, and it has the Morning Boon, which is a 1 AP target-friendly, gains regeneration and strengthen for 3 turns, and has 1 negative status effect removed. Not impressive, honestly, but it's okay. The Morning Sprite can also evolve, and I believe, what did they say? The Morning Sprite will evolve into either the Summer or Spring Fairy, the support variants, and the Evening Sprite will either evolve into Autumn Fairy, is that what it's called? Or the Winter Fairy, the Battle Mage variants. They are, of course, Fae, so they are resistant against Spirit, unfortunate for the Federate Reavers, and vulnerable to Blight. And, of course, the Realm beckons. They were looking for a nice place to hang out, but it had been taken over by the Mistwalkers, so Donnusk got big mad and transformed into a Battle Mage. Here is the Evening Sprite with the Moon Bolts, dealing repeating 5/5, Frost and Lightning. And he has the Evening Bane. 1 AP, target enemy unit becomes blind for 1 turn and slowed for 2 turns. I feel like you wouldn't want to press this unless you had like full move forward and just this or rip 1 attack. Then I'm okay with it. Otherwise, meh. Here is the Mistwalker Camp. This is the new Infestation type. And of course, a big player in this realm. They could roam around unfreeing some of the Polari from these little cages. Some of them were defended, some of them weren't. And here is a glimpse, a teaser of the new Empire tree. The general tree has remained largely unchanged, except that there are some new options down at the bottom, and we'll get into this in a minute. Also, the open beta is now active, so if you want to hop in and explore, read all of this for yourself, you most certainly can. We won't go over all of it today, but yeah, we'll go over some of it. Clinging Mist is unchanged, unfortunately, and remains super annoying. This is the Mistwalker Camp map. They kind of just reuse the Toll of Seasons invasion, which is fine. After that, they were invited by Totally Not Blint to recreate their Throne City, or, create a new Throne City. And Donnusk has helped them out and offering some bonus resources to start with, gold, mana, or Imperium. They chose gold because they were broke. Still broke, but, even more broke at the end. The Federate Reavers still have the Mana Forge and Lodestone Foundry, the conduit replacements, mana city structure replacements that the Reavers had before, but there is a new or different tier 3 building, which we didn't get to see. They also have a different SPI, the Reaver Manufactorum for them gives gold, and then +5 gold income per vassal, which actually could be insane if you're doing a Vassal Swarm build. This could very easily print 55, 45, 60 gold. That's actually crazy. Wait, hold on. Couldn't you abuse this? Just release a whole bunch of little vassal cities? It just gets more expensive, though. Wow, this could be crazy. I just had a terrible idea. Here is the Rally of the Lieges. Right after they built their Throne City, they were able to access this. As you can see, they can already recruit 2 mercenaries and 2 pistoliers. And here is the option to use Favor or Gold in order to recruit. They did ultimately use Favor. It was pretty cheap. 45 for 2 pistoliers, and they have 100. Not too shabby. The Polari have rode out to inform you that Mr. Hambinger is in great danger, and they must rescue him from the Lullburrow. And this is the quest. This is going to be very hard on hard difficulty, which is, of course, what Blint will eventually play this on whenever we get around to it. But the defensive lines of the rebellion are holding. If Hambinger is defeated, the mission is lost, and he must defend these 4 free cities of the Polari, and also informs you of the enemy strength within Lullburrow's domain. So, some of the Empire tree. The philosophy here was to kind of expand or provide options rather, when you are playing the tree. Because each of these trees are very good at one thing. Order was mostly about like vassals and relations and what. Chaos was mostly about conflict and pillaging and whatnot. You get the point. So now, they still have their own themes they stick to, but they provide options for how you play. For example, at Order, the aligned relations is one option. You gain 300 relations to every free city whose alignment does not oppose you. The wording for this is very specific. It basically means if you are evil, you will gain 300 relations to every free city that is not good. So both evil and neutral. And vice versa. If you're good, you will gain 300 relations to everyone who is not evil. So good or neutral. Or you can select pacification. Destroying an infestation grants a stacking plus 20 city stability to all your cities for 10 turns. Getting harmonious has never been easier. Just be violent. As you can see, is incompatible with aligned relations. There is a lock between them for a good reason. These are mutually exclusive. You pick one, it locks the other. And almost every tree or tier has that. I say almost. We'll look at this more specifically later, so I'll save it for that. On the first Chaos choice, the War Industry, quarries grant +5 draft income, or draft city structures cost 25% less gold and 25% less production. And when it says draft city structures, it doesn't mean just like blacksmiths and armories and smithing guild. Any city structure that produces drafts will be reduced. So this includes like the barbarians' knowledge building that produces draft as well. That will also be reduced. And anything from like what the gladiatorial pits from the Tome of the Warlord, stuff like that. So you get to choose really if you want cheaper stuff to build or just more draft in general from stuff. We did a look down here because someone mentioned it. The apex of Materium has a choice. One of them is cities gain an additional guild slot, which is crazy. This will be so good for me because I can never decide what guild to build. Now I can always build a research guild and then something else on top of it. I believe it is competing with the Wasteless process. Produce merchandise converts an additional 75% in cities. I feel like this is a no-brainer. But at the same time, you do reach a point in the game when it's like, I don't have anything to build, I'm just going to produce merchandise. Hard to say. It's hard to say. So, here we have arrived at the rights. Most of the choices here are circles. If it's a circle, you have to make a choice between where you're going to go. If you have a triangle, I almost call this a square. I know the difference. If you have a triangle, it is a right. The right of the armorer has been changed. I hope they added the champion breastplate to the pool then. But you will immediately gain 500 binding essence and 250 binding fragments. This is repeatable. I believe all of the rights are now repeatable. The cooldown, if you will, of a right is how long it takes to refresh it. So, it costs 100 Materium Affinity. But, you build up every turn or whatever. So in 92 turns, he can press this button, and then you have to wait 100 more turns before he could press it again. But it is repeatable. So if you have a lot of Materium, you can spam this out pretty quickly, build everything you want in the Item Forge. Life is good. We also looked at industrial infrastructure, production city buildings, cost 20% less gold, and production here at the beginning, or the metropolitan plans, skills that unlock city spells and city structures, cost 50% less knowledge. I'm not sure what I would want of these. Most of the city structures are later, aren't they? 50% less knowledge is quite a lot, though. And then, did I have that twice? At the very bottom of the general tree, I mentioned there are two options, or a new option. And this kind of builds into the rights. So it takes a long time to get this back. However, if you choose Focused Affinity, you gain plus 50 affinity points per turn in the branch of your highest affinity. All of a sudden, getting to 100 affinity is no big deal whatsoever. You could spam this out every other turn. That's actually crazy now that I think about it. Or, Cosmic Affinity, gain plus 5 affinity points per turn in every branch where you have at least 3 affinity. So if you're really branching out, going multi-affinity, which there is incentive to do even further, we'll get to that in a minute though, then It'll take more time, but you can build up multiple rights across different affinities. 3 affinity is not that hard to get either. We saw some random nature ones because Tom was talking about his favorite one. The lasting boons, positive status effects on your units which last at least 2 turns, last an additional turn. So the good old order magnifying lens, whichever one it is, I can never remember. It gives 3 fortune when you cast an order spell and you go Anthem of Victory for all the strengthened. Well, now that lasts for 4 turns instead of 3. Not too shabby. Or, adapt and overcome, your units gain status protection for 3 turns whenever they first gain the first negative status effect that turn in combat. I think universally this is more applicable, because no matter what you're facing, the enemy's always going to have some sort of negative status effect. Well, they usually rip the heavier ones first, don't they, later on? At, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4 for nature? The food city structures grant plus 10 production income. Again, this is any city structure that produces food. It's not just the farms, granaries, whatever. That's tier 4. We didn't get to see its other option, but at tier 3, this is what Tom was looking for, the symbiotic armies. Your non-racial units gain plus 5 hit points and plus 5 morale for each racial unit in the same army. So if you're doing a beast build, and for whatever reason one of your armies has 1 beast and 5 cultural units in it, that is plus 25 hit points and plus 25 morale. Not bad. Not bad. Or, at tier 3, the foraging. While in friendly domain, your units regenerate 15 hit points per turn and gain plus 5 experience per turn. I actually think this is so good. This is basically just an improved version of what was already here. Something regeneration. But yeah, experience as well. Oh, you spend so much time in your domain. You don't even realize it half the time. Here is the Ancient Obelisk. This is a new resource node. It is now in every map. Just there as a plus 5 mana, plus 5 knowledge node. However, if you have the Shrouded Isle turn on, like in all the story realms, or if you turn them on in your own custom realm, these will have a secondary objective or purpose. We, of course, don't know what that is yet, but probably find out next week. Speaking of the Shrouded Isles, Thomas pressed the layer button up here in the top right, and darkness. Total abyss. Nothing. I don't know what to tell you. The Court of Summer took place. This is part of the event that just happens in the game, or, you know, the story realm. And they were doomed. Oh, excuse me, they were worthy. Doomed to live. Which spawned a whole bunch of Mistwalker camps all over the map. So, you're going to be fighting plenty of infestations. Each of these little nodes in the Fog of War is an infestation. And here is the Moor of the Mist. Tom said that each of the story realms has a special landmark for it, and this is the one for this realm. If you capture all of the provinces around it, you win, is what Tom said. And as you can see, this is what it does. Because this is a story landmark, it's really not that important to me, I gotta be honest. It is what it is. The banner of the Federation is the cultural trait spreading to your non-cultural units. Huzzah! Confederate soldier. You can induct anyone into the army. Revitalizing Heal is a support skill of the Federated Reaver variety. The target-friendly unit with Federate Soldier will heal 10 temporary hit points and plus 5 temporary hit point for each friendly Federate levy in battle. And for the Federate levy, it's reverse. They heal 10 temporary hit points and plus 5 temporary hit points for each friendly Federate Soldier in battle. This is saying in battle, not in the stack. So if you're pretty well balanced, like 3 and 3, 3 and 3 and 3, then that is plus... Is that plus 55 health? Huh. And it jumps 2 times. This is actually a pretty crazy healing skill. Although uncontrolled, but pretty crazy. And here is the Tome of the Cosmos. The new Tier 5 Tome. The very first, much asked for, Tier 5 Tome. Now, we didn't hover over any of these, but the Avatar of the Cosmos was shown off in the big ol' DLC reveal. This is a big ol' spooky unit. I think they also showed it in the Discord. If you want to see what its numbers are. And, Yeah, there's also the Cosmos Awakening, which I would assume is a transformation of some kind, or an enchantment. And the Prismatic Tower, which, logically speaking, would be a building. I don't know any other form of tower, but who knows. Use your mastery over the magic of the universe to empower your units and your economy, and summon a mighty avatar of the cosmos itself. This is a tome of all the affinities, and Tom was actually just curious about its requirements, which require you to, of course, get to tier 5, but it requires all affinities to be 2, or requires 3 affinities to be 6. I actually think the first one's easier. But you could also just hold off on the tier 5 tome until you get to one of these. Because only one tier 5 tome can be chosen. So, yep, there it is. Bada bing, bada boom. So, this mercenary has been given some levies. Oh, I'm targeting one of these. So, the symbol down here is a little bit different here on the unit card. And, yep. They came in through the Rally of Leeches, but the base Rally of Leeches are still your cultural units. So, keep that in mind when recruiting from the rally. Here is the Federate Levy. This unit was levied from a vassal. Well, the Void, really, but that's okay. Then attacks inflict engaged by levies. Support skills will better heal Federate soldiers, and then you gain bonus experience, whatever. I do have an example here. This Federate soldier with 4 Federate levies has a whopping 140 health already. At the veteran rank, not too shabby. And I believe we also got, yes, it's experience, plus 8 experience from in army with Federate levies. It's not a lot, but it's certainly something. It'll add up over quite a bit. I mean, I prioritize quite heavily the experience thing for champions. Is that plus 2 per turn for everything in your army? So, I mean, yeah. Here is the new Weaver Spider. Again, this is the mount. If you do go for the Spider mount, this is what it is. It is also a tier 2 range unit that can evolve. Dun, dun, dun. They didn't show it what, though. But it has a repeating ranged attack, 4 range, 12 physical repeating, and veteran rank, with a 30% chance to inflict immobilized. Not too shabby. It also is a spider. Shocker. The spider tag has always existed, but now it actually does stuff. A spider unit will have swift, and they are immune to slowed and immobilized. And they are affected by one of the new tomes. The Tome of the Weaver will affect anything with the spider tag. Demonic Hunger! This is the transformation of the Tome of Gluttony, and it is, again, its key feature. This is what it's all about. And I believe we're mostly looking at what it does to you. It adds a bunch of mouths to you, which is quite abominable. Thomas was not happy about that, so he immediately hid it for his fine, sleek owlmen. Owlkin. They destroyed an infestation, as you can see. We got 50 favor for it. I'm not sure, would this number go up if you're Fabled Hunter? I don't know. I think it would, right? Were they Fabled Hunter? I forgot already. They're Chosen Uniter. I think they are Fabled Hunter, actually. Oh dear, I forgot. Dun, dun, dun! Here's Arachna. Arachna is the secret, quote-unquote, gaudier of the Burrow Downs. You can see Mr. Bird is super excited to have met her. She has a great new customization option of having spiders sticking out of her back. She has become the Disciple of Winter. That's why she's here, I guess. She has joined with the Duatha Day and become the Disciple of Onoka, the Duatha Day of Winter. So the 4 enemies in the Burrow Downs are all disciples of the different seasons. While their season is active, so during the winter season, she will have plus 100 hit points. All of her own units will have Onoka's Blessing, which grants them plus 10 health, plus 4 frost protection, and plus 2 frost damage. And all owned provinces will have the Domain of Winter, which is Winter Sorrow. Enemy units suffer 5 stacks of Demoralize whenever they kill another unit. So basically, you don't want to fight them while their season is active. That's the TLDR. They met another of the Gaudier, one infinitely less famous, the Sorin, like soaring. They were able to flatter his ego to not have him immediately declare war, but he is one of the disciples of Loth, granting him during the autumn season plus 100 health, and then his units will have Loth's blessing for plus 10 hit points, plus 4 lightning protection, plus 2 lightning damage, and all Odin provinces will have the domain of autumn. All enemy units suffer wet until the end of battle. In addition, after 5 turns, all enemy units that are wet suffer 20 lightning damage and have a 60% chance of suffering stun. That sounds awful. Here is Arachna. If you want to read her lore as to why she's here, there it is. If you don't, just note that this is the start of the campaign and she is already freaking terrifying. She also has the Ascended Spearbreaker skill, which is fun. Free action always hits 3 range and removes all negative status effects and inflicts 15 morale negative for each status effect removed. She also has the Spider's Embrace. This is the new major transformation introduced in the DLC from the Tome of the Weaver. Granted her the Spider type, fast movement, and base attacks have a base 30% chance of inflicting immobilized for 1 turn increase for single shots. This is not overly impressive as far as major transformations go, but again, the Tome of the Weaver has stuff inside of it that we don't know about that will affect anything with the Spider tag. Mr. Bird buffed Diseased. At the start of a disease unit's turn, it will suffer weakened, it will suffer poison, and it has a base 60% chance of inflicting diseased on adjacent units. The reason I moved away from disease, like, I've never liked disease because it could spread to you. So, if we're doing a really heavy melee build, I probably wouldn't focus on diseased, but you can do what you want. We did grab a little bit more screen grabs of the Imperium tree. The Rite of Stoic Defense, all of your current units heal to their max hit points and gain +1 defense and +1 resistance, which does not stack with subsequent uses. This is like a merging of the Rite of the Dreadnought with the Rite of Enduring, Undying Duty, Vigor, whatever. So again, this can be repeated to infinite, to fully heal all of your units, but it takes 300 Materium to recharge, so that's quite a lot. The Rite of Industry, all of your cities immediately gained 500 production. That is quite a lot. I can't remember any specific numbers off the top of my head, but 500 sounds kind of like an in-game building. It's a lot. Yes. If you grab +50 affinity for your highest affinity, and you're full-blown Materium, every 6 turns you just full heal all of your units. At least 6. I'd imagine 6. Ikit was pretty heavy on Materium at the end of his campaign. I think he had 17 at the end. Wow. That's crazy. The Gold Rite has moved over to Order. The Rite of Allegiance instantly gain 2,000 gold. Of course, repeatable. 200 affinity required. Farther down the order tree, the second options, gold infrastructure. Gold city structures cost 20% less gold than production. Again, any building that produces gold is a gold city structure. Or the diplomatic expertise, you gain +1 Whispering Stone, and Whispering Stones grant +1 allegiance. This is a buff to what was previously here. I don't remember what it was probably called this too. That is insane. Like, +1 allegiance. Is the Silvertongue fruit +2 allegiance? Like, basically going order makes you unmatched in vassalizing free cities the peaceful way. Over into Chaos, the second tier. First tier? Second tier? One option is to reduce the casting points, the roadmap casting points of summon spells, and the combat casting points of combat summon spells by 25%, or specialized troops, research skills that unlock units cost 40% less knowledge. They said that the Chaos tree has a lot of options for, like, summoning. Which, okay. I guess bolstering your army through magical means. Makes sense. This is apparently a unicorn. Apparently. Tom was convinced it's a pig with wings, but it has a little horn here. These little effigies, if you will, are all over this map. It has a lot of special aesthetics. They went hard on this. It looks really great. Here is the major transformation. It's not a Drider. It's the Spider's Embrace. For legal reasons, they can't be called driders, but it's a drider. Their lower half of their body is all spoder, and they are all mean. Arachnophiles rejoice. Did we go over this already? I couldn't remember. But anyway, the starter materium. Skills that unlock city spells and city structure cost 50% less knowledge. And the industrial infrastructure production city structures cost 25% less gold in production. I thought we went over that, but I couldn't remember. In the start of the nature tree, food infrastructure, food city structures cost 20% less gold than production. And the fruitful integration is still here. Founding or absorbing cities takes 2 less turns. Newly founded or absorbed cities gain plus in population. This remains unchanged. Which is good. It was great. Now, they're playing on hard difficulty, which was a choice. And I'm already dreading it for Blint in the far future. But one of the 4 free cities they must help defend was besieged. Watch is being besieged. Quickly send troops to break the siege or prepare to defend the other strongholds of the rebellion. I believe all 4 of these can fall, as long as Hambinger doesn't die. If Mr. Binger dies, it's over. All over. They did finally meet one of the free cities, of course, as the Federate Reavers and Order-ish. They play very well into free cities, but even though they knew about these free cities, they hadn't actually met them yet. So they couldn't use their 2 Whispering Stones and many boons. But they're working on it, you know? The favors can be used in trading. I believe this could only be done in War Spoils. I'm not sure if it still can in the new patch, but in the live version of the game currently you can use War Spoils in such a way that you send War Spoils per turn for resources. It adds up very quickly, so just, you know, keep that in mind. It might be easier or better for favors because you can get some sort of income of favors through Supreme Vassalage, whereas with War Spoils, there's no income. It's just, it is what it is. What's it called? They only have 2 siege projects. They don't have the +1 siege as Federate Reavers, and the cannons are removed. The Reavers in the base game right now, the live game, do have a starting siege project that gives them cannons. So that's not here. I was surprised to see that, but again, the Federate Reavers are not really interested in violence. And here we are. So, that was everything new that I saw in the dev stream. Of course, you can find a link in the description down below. We've reached the final part of the video where I have a few notes, not many, but a few notes of things I just didn't have pictures for that the devs said or talked about. We're starting things off with, if you repeat something enough, the devs will listen. I don't remember what the context was for this. It was at the very beginning, they were talking about the mounts. Oh, the spider mount, of course. And Thomas was like, don't reinforce bad behavior, but it's too late. The Chosen Destroyer also has Total War. There was an idea to give the Eldritch Sovereign the Grimoire, but Tom doesn't believe that actually came to fruition in the end. Which makes sense, because the Grimoire is like a slightly weaker version of the Eldritch Sovereign weapon anyway. There was a new chariot animal added. Tom couldn't remember what it was, but it is not a new animal. It was just one that they missed previously. In Story Realms, all content is unlocked even if you do not own the DLC. The example here was in the Burrow Downs. If you own Secrets of the Archmages, you can use the Tome of the Famous even if you do not own Primal Fury, because Tome of the Famous is really good in this realm. This story realm. The Toll of Seasons has not been updated, but it will field some of the new Fey units on its roster. Someone asked for a giant Bumblebee mount, and Tom, giggling, said that he would keep that in mind. These story realms do have multiple endings. However, they did say for this one in particular, I don't believe you can betray Mr. Hambinger. I believe you have to help him see this realm to fruition. Now, this one is interesting. This might have been in the patch notes, which I haven't read and I'll be covering soon. Not tomorrow. Probably not the next day, but soon. Pantheon slots have supposedly been increased to 300. Now, we were told previously that they are stuck at 50 for a console limitation, but apparently something's been worked out, and now it's up to 300, which is fantastic. I don't have to cut anyone yet. On the note of the Pantheon item system. Now, this is a relatively new system, but it was created to collect your customized items, your custom created items in the Item Forge from completed runs. It'll collect all of them, and it will store it for a random surprise in a future run. It has 50 item slots, and as you continue to fill it, it will kick out older ones. This gives it kind of a pseudo randomness for rewards, but the system was never meant to be controlled. So Tom doesn't think players will ever be able to curate this repeating system, which is funny to me because a lot of times I use the Item Forge for two things. One, making tier 4 weapons for my boys, and two, making those miscellaneous items that are just universally good, like the bonus for punishment, the siege projects, the casting points, So my custom Item Forge kind of all looks the same. Half of it's just new weapons, and the other half is just the useful miscellaneous items. Maybe I'll try and be better at that. We'll see. Playtest told Tom not to increase the Grimoire buttons. There are cat ears in the Pantheon, which is currently in the open beta if you want to see them for yourselves. Changes were made to the Tome of Shades because players were complaining about the transformation where if someone hits you, you have a chance to blind them within a certain range. Tom couldn't remember what he did, but he said it was a pain in the butt to make it happen, so I hope you enjoy it. Again, it'll be in the patch notes, which I'll read eventually. Naruto turns into a squirrel, is what Tom thought, but no, Naruto turns into a fox. Apparently, Kurama is a squirrel. If you have underground adaptation on this realm, the Throne City is not generated underground. It'll still be at the top of the starting zone. Sorry. Tome of the Cosmos was really the only idea they had for a new Tier 5 tome. Like a Tier 5 tome that encompassed all the affinities. They didn't really have more ideas, which does not bode well for the future of new Tier 5 tomes, but maybe. I didn't think we'd get one in the first place, so. The new Shrouded Isles layer is not compatible with the Umbral Abyss. I mentioned this earlier, how there is a limit in the code to 3. This is because it takes way too much memory. Consoles would not be able to handle it, and middling PCs or lower-end PCs would also not be able to do so. Tom believes the limit could be modded out if someone was so inclined. However, he does not recommend it. Leaf Skin from the Tome of the Glades has been buffed to provide combat bonuses when you fight in forests, much like the desert adaptation, not adaptation, but the desert transformation from the Tome of the Scorpion. And someone asked for a construct leader, a ruler type, which would be really cool, but Thomas said it would be very difficult to do because of how specific the idea was. I'm sure they may or may not come up with something else. It's in their mind, and that's what's important. Keep asking. Maybe it'll happen. But my friends, that is it for the first Dev Diary breakdown. This first one's always a long one, because we got a lot to go over. But if you would like to test out the new Empire Tree or the new Reavers, you can do so in the open beta, which is live right now on PC on Steam only. Sorry if you have it somewhere else. I will be covering the patch notes in a couple of days. It'll probably be like Monday. And I believe the story realm of Tharokath for the Blint Saga, we might as well do it on the open beta, right? I'm not going to play Reavers again, but we can check out the Empire Tree and see how we feel about it. Thanks for watching. I hope that you all enjoyed, and I hope you all are as excited as I am for the secrets of the Archmages. I will continue to cover this every week. I'll show you what's new. I'll show you what we see. Hopefully we learn more about the spooky secret doors. If you want to stay up to date with anything happening on the channel, feel free to join the Discord in the description down below. Thank you to the patrons and the channel members who support the channel. I greatly appreciate you. And I will see you next week.